From the ECSI Sports Studios and the #1 sports investors in America, we bring you the Closing Bell. As the market closes, legends Jeff Dawson and Riley Magnuson bring you all the sports investing tips for tonight's matchups. If you want to learn more from the two legends at the desk, make sure you stay tuned to the Closing Bell. ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sportsbooks and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, sports fans from around the globe. This is East Coast Sports Investors Closing Bell for Wednesday, February 21st. I am your, for this evening, solo host, Riley Magnuson, rocking to you on this fine Wednesday evening. Most likely rocking with you with all things college basketball this evening, as very similar to what we did last night. Speaking of last night, not a bad night for the show as far as some of the games that we talked about last night. Had the one, we didn't have a strong play by any means. Thought the maybe the line was a bit too much. Michigan State loses to Iowa. That was one that I did not expect to happen there. But outside of that, Creighton takes down UConn in an upset. We were very adamant about that one, as well as BYU not only winning. Was a little maybe hesitant on the line. Felt like they were going to win, but they get the win and the cover there. And the last one ends up winning the game but failing to cover was Wisconsin, the other game that I told you about that I was interested in. Maryland and the points in that one. Wisconsin does get the win, gets the avoids a tough loss there in the Big Ten Conference to keep themselves, I think, in third place there as Illinois and Purdue kind of separate themselves at the top there. So, like I said, not a bad evening by any stretch of the measure. That UConn game, obviously pretty good early. UConn gets to an early lead, and then Creighton takes care of business after that. Was a big raucous crowd there for Creighton, obviously. That obviously is going to do wonders for Creighton as they go down along this season. Number 15 right now. Could crack the top 10 potentially. I still don't see them as, that team that we, or a lot of people thought they were coming into the season necessarily, but a tough team that's going to be, a tough out in the tournament nonetheless there. So shifting to tonight, still mostly just college basketball tonight. Got the return of NBA tomorrow. I'm not sure how many games tomorrow, but that is Thursday evening. Pretty full slate, actually, tomorrow of NBA, as well as some side college basketball. But without further ado, let's dive into it, and then we'll be out of here short and sweet, like I always say, my friends. This evening's slate, similar to last night, although starting a little bit earlier with some mid-major games at that 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock window, East Coast time there. Illinois-Penn State, the first big game of the night, big conference game. Tough to make. I didn't have strong thoughts on this one. Illinois 7.5-point favorites on the road in Penn State. Penn State now 12-14. The only thing I'll say is, as we've said all season long in the Big Ten Conference, as much as there's obviously a couple teams that have not had much success, and their record looks pretty terrible. This Penn State team is a tough team to beat at home. They're no pushover by any means. So the 7.5, I do think it could be a little bit longer than that if I was really feeling good about Illinois' chances here, but to cover at least. But I do think Illinois can go on the road and get the win as they start stacking some wins. Their only loss in recent weeks here was that loss on the road at Michigan State. Their last couple of road games outside of that, they've gone on the road to Maryland over the weekend. A couple weeks back, went on the road to Ohio State and taken care of business. So They've actually been, to the spread especially, pretty darn solid against the number. This one obviously is a little bit bigger than they've seen on the road. So for the most part, I'm going to I think the number is fair. I'm going to respect it. Not going to put Illinois on upset watch. Obviously, I am a little biased there, but I do think Illinois can take care of business in that one. Moving down the list, I know there is a big gap there before I get to my next one here. Another one, too, that I saw a lot of public money on. Not the exact same situation as last night in Utah State and San Diego State. Kind of mentioned that in passing as one to watch out for there. Dayton, the number 16 team in the country per the AP. 3.5-point favorites at George Mason, 17-8 George Mason. So short favorites for a big ranked team. I would say at least be a little weary of that one. You've got a Dayton team that's playing obviously really, really well. George Mason team, who's won 2 in a row, these last 2 at Davidson, home for George Washington. So they are turning things around this last week or so. I would say this short spread is at least something to be aware of. I'm not saying I'm cannonballing into George Mason here, but certainly got my radar up kind of watching that one for a potential upset. One that I don't feel too strongly we're going to see much of an upset here is this Florida-Alabama game. Got 2 ranked teams in action tonight in the SEC, Florida and Alabama. Number 24, Florida. Number 13, Alabama. 9.5, 10-point favorites for Alabama. 174 on the damn total. That is a whopping total, and is quite a bit higher than what we typically see out of these 2 teams. At least for their average. There's been a couple times where they've been up in that range a little bit there. But I will say I do think it is probably a little inflated, but I'm certainly not diving into any underplays there. I would say it's safe to say that one could be flying over. But at the end of the day, I think this Florida team is playing a lot better. They've been a Jekyll and Hyde team for me the past 2-3 years. So of course, the one season that I try to avoid them completely, they go 18-7 and they take care of business for the most part in general there. So I am going to stay away from this one. I'm not cannonballing into Florida's side of things here. I saw a number that was garnering some public money on Florida there. So I am going to respect Alabama and say they can get this one done. I mean, their offense is absolutely humming right now. The one game they lose recently, it was at Auburn on their home court. They have been pretty damn phenomenal to the number and straight up there. So it's probably a little inflated. So I'm not saying I'm all the way in on Alabama on that 9.5, 10 number, but it is at least worth respecting. And it kind of suggests that Alabama's going to keep it rolling tonight. So I'm not putting them on upset watch by any means. One team that I'm tentatively putting on a little bit of upset watch here. Nothing too crazy, nothing too crazy lighting up the radars necessarily. But Duke on the road at Miami. 6.5-point favorite for Duke on the road here. Miami now 15-11. The story here, Duke four straight wins since their loss at UNC, which would have been 2-3 weeks ago now. Home for Notre Dame, home for BC, home for Wake Forest, and at Florida State. So not a murderer's row by any means. Obviously a road game is tough. 6-point spread there at Florida State, and they win by 9. Now you're given a 6.5-point spread here at Miami. So it looks like they should be able to take care of it, especially against a team in Miami that has 4 straight losses. So I am putting my radars up as far as this one seems a little too good to be true for the old Duke Blue Devils here. Miami, last 4 games, 3 of the 4 of those games on the road. At Virginia, 38-60 loss. Obviously, a tough one there. The only home loss is UNC, a 75-72 loss. They covered that game +4, and then they turn around and lose at Clemson, tough place to play this year, and at Boston College as a close to a pick 'em there. So struggling a bit right now. Their offense has been turning around these last few games. So I expect them to put up a better showing tonight and maybe at the very least slide in that 6.5. Not saying it's a identical situation to that Wisconsin situation last night, because it's not, because this Miami team is pretty formidable. It's just hit a rough patch here. So I am going to say Miami up over that 70.5 could get it done offensively, and I think they can find a way to cover this one here tonight. So I am tentatively putting Duke on upset watch, but I am feeling decent about Miami covering that 6.5 number there in the ACC. I'm not sure. I didn't look at the bracketology for where Miami is, but obviously in a much rougher standing than they were about a month ago. So going to need this one if they want really any shot of getting back in that picture, I think. Moving on down the line, another one that I think a lot of people were surprised to see. A Providence team 17-9 on the road at Xavier, 13-12, 4.5 5-point dogs at Xavier. Xavier the favorite in this one, 4.5 5-point favorites. As I said, and you've got a Providence team that's won 3 of their last 4, and you got an Xavier team that's coming in on 2 losses at home to Creighton and a road loss at Seton Hall. So to see Providence as an underdog obviously is surprising to most people and is going to have people flocking to Providence. The interesting thing with this is I believe Xavier is technically not technically, I believe they are the higher ranked team per KenPom, 44th per KenPom, so quite a bit better than what their record states, obviously, whereas Providence is 56, and obviously would say it's been a past regime, but this Providence team kind of has defied, obviously, KenPom rankings these last few years, but at the end of the day, something to make note of there. By all accounts there. Xavier, I think 299th in the luck column, obviously. Again, Providence on the other end of that, typically a team that, and not as much this year, they've kind of been middle of the pack luck-wise, but in the past, obviously, was maybe the luckiest team per KenPom and was playing above their coverage. Xavier kind of the opposite, 13-12, and is considered one of the unluckiest teams in college basketball. So that is why you're getting these numbers here tonight. This is a rematch from about a month and a half ago at Providence. Xavier winning and kicked the what out of them 85 to 65 as 2-point underdogs. So you kind of flip the script here. I'm going to stay away from it because you got that revenge factor. You've got Providence probably coming in looking to I don't want to say pull off the upset, but it is by the number an upset here. But at the end of the day, 3 out of their last 4, last couple St. John's and DePaul, so maybe a little fat and happy on these last couple here. So I'm going to say Xavier could potentially get this win here, but with that revenge factor, and obviously Xavier's been unlucky all season long, who's to say they aren't unlucky again here tonight? So just a breakdown of why that number is the way it is there. So something to look into. Don't just blindly jump into Providence there. Another Big Ten game that I've been trying to figure out here is Nebraska and Indiana. Indiana, the home favorite in this one, -1.5 at home. 14-11. They have not been playing well. They have been getting their respect outside of games against maybe a Purdue or even Illinois. At home, they were just 2.5-point favorites at home against Northwestern, which seemed fishy. They lose that one by 4. So now you give them another short favorite spot against a Nebraska team that's probably certainly a tournament team right now, assuming they don't collapse, is going to be a tournament team. 2 20-point wins in their back pocket these last 2, home against Michigan, home against Penn State. But they've been struggling on the road quite a bit this year. Last 2, especially at Northwestern, at Illinois, can't get the job done. And largely just not a very good road team this year. So that is why you're getting this number again here. I personally do not believe in this Indiana team. I think this would be a great time for Nebraska to kick those road woes. They're 41st ranked team per KenPom. Nebraska 90 something. But I'm just not really respecting this Indiana team. So I think this could be the end of the road. That's just my personal opinion, just watching these basketball games in the Big Ten. So it certainly is one to beware of here. In Nebraska's case, they could come out and lay an egg. But Nebraska did win this. Nebraska did win the first one in Nebraska early January, 86-70, as 4.5-point favorites. That one was kind of before people kind of started figuring out that Indiana wasn't very good. So I don't think Indiana really has a chance to make a run here. Obviously, they might have the games in front of them to potentially make a run here and get themselves in that bubble conversation. But they just aren't very good. 6-8 per conference, better than what I would have probably expected. And they've got, I think, 6 games left, so they really don't have the games in front of them. Honestly, they need the big wins potentially in front of them that they need, so they do kind of need this one. But I wouldn't be diving into Indiana tonight. I do not trust them whatsoever. Moving on down the line, not too many other games. We're talking about UK, Kentucky at LSU, 6.5-point favorites in LSU, at LSU, however you want to call it. 5.5-point favorites in certain spots there. Would have preferred a bigger number, I think, in Kentucky's case, but they haven't exactly been getting a ton of huge numbers on the road there. So this one is kind of respecting them, if you ask me here. They've been obviously the benefactor of this rivalry. As of late, the last handful of years, LSU did just get a win at South Carolina, but obviously just a very, very head-scratching team and hard hard to make any sense out of what you've seen from LSU this year at 13-12 in the SEC. Not really going too much, not really going to any places there. The other SEC game tonight, Mississippi State, good rivalry game obviously there, and kind of a big game as far as the tournament is concerned. I think both these teams will find themselves in there, but obviously, you stamp this one on, and you're a lot closer than you were. Mississippi avoided an upset at home against Mizzou over the weekend, 79-76. That was after a three-game little skid that they went on, so kind of coming back down to earth as of late, whereas Mississippi has won each of their last three, Georgia, Mizzou, and Arkansas, three teams that obviously have not been as successful this year. But the thing, in my opinion, here is how much better Mississippi State has been at home. So it does feel a little inflated to 6.5. But it is quite a bit of respect for him there. So I am going to lean towards Mississippi State getting the win and actually some revenge. They did lose to Mississippi by 4 points less than a month ago, end of January there. Mississippi was the 1-point favorites at Ole Miss. So kind of telling you on a neutral floor, they think Mississippi is definitely the better team in this one. So don't know that I'm diving into the 6.5, but I will say that Mississippi State gets the win there tonight in the SEC to close things out. I don't think we have too much else on the slate that I felt the need to talk about. A lot of mid-major games. Golf tournament, maybe we'll talk a little bit as the weekend gets, or as the tournament goes on, and we see get some data of what's going on with some of these guys here. Not the most star-studded field. You've got Tony Finau at the top there, plus 800, I believe. As well as Keith Mitchell, one of the top 5 odds there. So kind of gives you a read. No disrespect to Keith Mitchell, he's been great the last few years, but not really any big names in this golf tournament as we get on beyond the Genesis Open, and obviously closer into the stretch run. They should be heading to the Florida Swing pretty soon here, so I'll be excited for that. But aside from that, NHL, obviously I'm not your guy there, but there are a few games, 4 or 5 games here tonight. So best of luck if you got anything going on there. Hope you can find some good outlets for some NHL advice outside of myself. ECSI obviously puts out some great NHL content as well. So without further ado, I'll stop blabbering. Thank you all for stopping by, talking all things college basketball here on this fine Wednesday. Hope you all find some very, very good value and some success in your evening here on the hoops side of things. And without any other wasting time, I will go ahead and get on out of here. I believe we will be back same time tomorrow. Not sure what other shows are coming down the pipe tomorrow on Thursday as well as Friday. But aside from that, thank y'all for stopping by. Thank y'all for coming along with us. And we will see y'all tomorrow.